4.5 years have passed since we stayed with Cyndi and Max Mintzberg at the cornerstone laying ceremony. It was on November 22nd, 2017. We stood at this exact point, clutching a shovel and sharing a dream, to honor David Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister and the founding father of the State of Israel, with a building worthy of bearing his name. We dreamed of a building that would contain the research institute that carries Ben-Gurion's name and would hold his archives. We dreamed about a building that would invite the Israeli public and that of the whole world to come and get to know Ben-Gurion through his own eyes, by means of his letters, in the most intimate way possible. We dreamed of a building that would bring together researchers and those among the public who wish to acquaint themselves in depth with the history of the State of Israel, Ben-Gurion, and the Zionist movement. Therefore, we set out on a lengthy journey, a journey on which we ask ourselves, what will the nature of this building be? What will it include? How will it be built? What topics will be presented in the exhibit hall? What documents among the rich archives would best express Ben-Gurion? In the manner of a grueling journeys, friendship were formed as well. In meetings at the university, in visits on site, in online encounters and debates, agreements, embraces at moments of sadness, participation in moments of joy, and exchanging for recipes for knei dalach. It is a great privilege to fulfill a dream. That's why we have gathered here today, to thank Cyndi and Max expressly and to recite the Shehecheyanu blessing over the fulfillment of a dream. I invite the president of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, Professor Daniel Klimovich, to deliver remarks.
I don't think anything could be better than how he started. Dear Max and Cyndi, guests, my second day as president, I came down here to see the archives together with Adi and Paulo Caballo, and I asked to see the diary of David Ben-Gurion from May 13th and May 14th, 1948. Adi gave me the white gloves, and he pulled it out, and the goosebumps I could still feel when I recall the moment of holding that document in my hand, understanding the weight on this man's shoulders that you don't realize by reading the history. To understand what he wrote to himself on those days, am I making the right decision or am I causing the next Holocaust? It was at that day that I understood the weight that we all have as his successors in making sure the spirit of David Ben-Gurion is what leads our country. And that's why in the original strategic plan, we called for an expanded school of Israel or center of Israel studies in the university, realizing that this is something where we should be leading the world more and more. When I asked about the less than impressive building that the archives were in, I was told that Rivka had prepared a gift for me, which was going to make me look really good. You know, so thank you very much. I am not alone in expressing gratitude. This is actually a national day, and unfortunately, we have a political situation where Prime Minister Bennett, who had planned on being here, cannot be away from Jerusalem for more than a half hour on days that there are votes in the Knesset. None of the ministers or Knesset members who we wanted to have here, and by the time we talked to President Herzog, he couldn't change his schedule to be here. Though he did meet with Max 2 weeks ago, and they talked about, and he knows about the building, and he joins us here. This is truly a national day. And I want to say to Adi, to Professor Avi Bareli, to Noam Weisbrod, you have been, sorry, I just got so excited here. You all know who these people are, so I don't have to give you their titles. You've been entrusted with a national treasure. With great gifts come great responsibility. The work coming out of the archive and the Institute must enlighten the world. We have so much to learn from David Ben-Gurion, but it also has to be accessible to the world. It's not only for academics, it's not only for us, it's not only for researchers of the world, it's also for the people of the Negev, for the children of Israel. That comes out wrong, the children, but for the children in Israel, for the people in Israel, but actually for the world. When I was in Dubai and I was in Abu Dhabi talking to the son of the recently deceased leader, he talked about how his father had studied Ben-Gurion, you know, as a leader of a young country to figure out how he wanted to take his country forward. So I know that you are committed, along with our partners in the Ben-Gurion Heritage Institute, my friend, colleague, General Amos Yadlin, to bring David Ben-Gurion from our Sde Boker campus to the world. What we're doing today is just the beginning of something truly, truly remarkable. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny. On a wonderful celebration such as this, it is a privilege to acknowledge special people who made it all possible. It was Mark Mendelson, Executive Vice President of the Canadian for BGU, who first introduced us to Cyndi and Max Mintzberg exactly 7 years ago. It is my pleasure to invite Mark to join me to say a few words in honor of the Mintzbergs.
I hate to correct Adi, but if anyone, as my Canadians know, if you put a microphone in front of me, there won't be a few words. So get ready. It could be 10 minutes, could be 20 minutes. What a day. It actually started 10 years ago because I had just been hired by the Canadian Associates of Ben-Gurion University as their chief executive officer, and I flew to Vancouver and I made a breakfast meeting with someone who was not a friend, but I knew him as a very important potential donor and could help me revitalize the organization in Vancouver. I met with Max, whose sister went to McGill with me, and we started talking, and I tell him my plans, and I tell him about the university, and he said, you know, I'm really not an organizational guy, but keep me informed. Lo and behold, I didn't know that they had a very close friend who was asked about potential support of Israeli institutions, and Peggy Rabinovich said, think about Ben-Gurion. 2015, I'm making jumps. I send out the invitations to the Board of Governors, and I get a call on my call display 604, which is the area code of Vancouver. And I pick up the phone. I had no one in Vancouver because we hadn't yet reopened our office. Mark, hi, this is Max Mintzberg. He would like to join the Board of Governors. And the rest, as they say, is history. I had spoken to Paula and to Adi, and of course Adi, who is the master of the archives. We had a special meeting of the Canadians in the bunker, which is where the archives are kept, or have been kept. And he started reading from days 12, 13, and 14 of May. And Max Mintzberg, in presence of other Canadians and in the Justice Minister, Erwin Kotler, stood and they started crying. And I saw that, and it was just unbelievable. And then Max and Cyndi decided to make this outstanding gift. And I don't have enough words to express everyone's appreciation. This is a legacy gift for the state of Israel, for the Jewish people, for Canadians, for everyone. And I Max and I kibbutz with each other, I would plant a kiss. I just planted a kiss on his forehead. Guys, you have done, this is neches to Lumi. And I thank Jeff and Danny and, of course, Rivka, who was right at the beginning of the whole process. Paula, Adi, kol hakavod. Kol hakavod to Ben-Gurion, kol hakavod to the Mintzbergs especially. Mazal tov.
I invite Major General on Reserves, Amos Yadlin, Chair of the Ben-Gurion Heritage Institute, to deliver congratulations.
President Chaimovich, President Emeritus Rivka Karmi, and the dear esteemed donors, Max and Cyndi Mintzberg, and everybody. I'm the first speaker that English is not his mother tongue. So excuse my grammar, but I will try to tell you what brings me here. First, I'm not a politician, so I don't have to be in the Knesset to vote. My father was a politician. He's 96 years old, and one of you, the trustees of the Ben-Gurion University, and he sent his regards. Very much want to be here today, but unfortunately cannot. So on one day, 1959, I was 8 years old, and Ben-Gurion came to my kibbutz, which is near Be'er Sheva, Hatzerim, and the members of the kibbutz wanted to leave the kibbutz because they cannot make a living. The soil was salt, and year after year, the crops were close to zero. But Ben-Gurion said, you are not leaving the place. If you want to leave the place, you are only go south. So they have decided to stay. And then came Levi Eshkol, the Minister of Treasury, and who said also, it's cheaper for me to keep you in a hotel in Tel Aviv than giving you money to wash the salt. But they washed the salt, and they invented the best industry in agricultural in Israel, which called netafim. It is now $1 billion business, which shows that if Ben-Gurion has a vision, it is going forward. Another meeting between my father and Ben-Gurion is in the early 60s, and they are arguing where the university in the Negev should be. And Ben-Gurion wanted to be right here. And my father, who is a little bit more of a practitioner, said, you know, the vision to have a university in the Negev is an amazing vision, but if we want the student to come, it should be in Be'er Sheva. And they argue, but I listen very much how these two smart people are arguing, and at the end it's in Be'er Sheva, but it's also here. And this is the beauty of cooperation. And fast forward, I'm already the deputy commander of the Israeli Air Force, and I look on how the Air Force getting its best airplanes. And the best airplanes always go to the north or to the center, and then the old airplanes are going to the Negev. And I remind me that Ben-Gurion has a vision, say, since I'm now to decide, the new, brand new F-15I, F-16I, and the F-35 will be in the Negev. And so, at least in the Air Force, and then I become head of intelligence, and we decided also to bring now what is the best organization, intelligence organization of Israel, A200, down to the Negev. So I think the vision of Ben-Gurion is all over the place. I want to congratulate the two institutions that we are a part of it. It's the institution of, let me be precise, institution of Ben-Gurion legacy, which is the academic institution, and the institution of the Ben-Gurion heritage, which is educational. And once again, the combination is so important. Research, academic, on the archive, and in the same time, a visitor center that show for the people who are coming now in thousands of, hundreds of thousands to visit Ben-Gurion and to live according to his legacy that it's so needed in Israel of 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amos Yadlin. And now I invite Professor Tzvia Valdan, a member of the Ben-Gurion Heritage Institute Board, to deliver congratulations.
Shalom. Amos and me decided that he would name all the distinguished persons that are here, and I would say everybody that Amos mentioned, I welcome as well. But I don't think you can trust someone from the Air Force. So the second thing is both of us are not native speakers of Hebrew and non-native speakers of English, right? And the third thing is both of us have fathers. And when I was about 11-year-old, Ben-Gurion was the hero of my childhood. I kept hearing about him. I kept hearing a man who decided to establish the state of Israel against all odds. The man who led the independence war. And one day, my parents told me that he was going to pay us a visit and come home. So I made my father promise that if Ben-Gurion comes to our home, he will talk to me and I will talk to him. I was 11 years old. Ben-Gurion was running late, very late. And by the time he reached our house, I was already in bed, and I heard my mother in the corridor saying to my father, "You must take him to say goodnight to Tziki. She's been working on it for a whole week." And what did I do during this week? I piled books, like a tower of books, at my bedside, so that when Ben-Gurion comes in, he will ask me, "What are you reading?" And I can talk to him about what I'm reading. Right? I don't think I have to mention that he was a special scholar, versed in the Bible and in Greek mythology, and he was an avid reader. He was not a very good small talk person. So Ben-Gurion walks into the room, he looks at me, and he said, "Why are you up? Such a little girl, and you're not sleeping yet. Go to sleep. Good night." He turned away and walked out, and I remained with the books and the dreams. But this was my first encounter with Ben-Gurion. In spite of that first encounter, I was still an admirer of him. And what made it possible for me to go a little bit more deeply into his vision was the fact that I became a member of the board of the Heritage Institute here in Sde Boker. It is important for me to say that Ben-Gurion was both my father's mentor, the father of Israel, the founding father of Israel, a very unusual person, and mostly a reader and a writer. He kept reading everything he put his hand on. He would read on the one hand, And he kept noting and writing everything that came up to his mind. I was talking to David Grossman and asked him whether Ben-Gurion, when he was writing his notes, knew he would be a big or a personality one day, or the other way around. He kept writing everything so we could share the most unusual moments that Israel went through before it became the state that we are today. There's still things to correct, though. The archive is full of documents, nowadays accessible practically to everybody. And that's amazing, because you can actually touch the words and read the text. And besides the archive, we have a visitor center. And the visitor center welcomes people of all ages, of all countries, of all beliefs. And together, I call your attention to what David Ben-Gurion said. He said the following: I learned from the reality in the land and from the Bible that words alone, even the most beautiful, if they are not accompanied by actions, have no worth. So, we believe that the visitors' experience here will not only deepen their thoughts. You should remember that when they come here, they have everything. They have the desert home of Ben-Gurion, they have the gravesite, they have the institutes that are named after him, and mostly the best gift that anyone could hope for, this beautiful, unusual landscape. So I hope that visiting this place will help all of us make our world better, following Ben-Gurion's vision and working hard. Thank you so much.
Okay. Tziki was quite modest. Do you know who her father was? No one? Danny. Okay. It was Shimon Peres. Okay. Okay, so we keep on asking, what would David Ben-Gurion say? What would he think about this event, actually? We're sure that he will be pleased with what's going on here. This enterprise of Cyndi and Max represent the crux of Ben-Gurion's vision, a pioneering enterprise that is destined to attract visitors, researchers, and educators to the Negev, contributing to the development of the Negev and the resilience of the State of Israel. Cyndi and Max, we thank you for fulfilling Ben-Gurion's vision and express our personal gratitude for fulfillment of the dream, a partnership, a friendship. I invite Cyndi and Max Mintzberg to deliver remarks.
There's good and bad about being the last one to come up. Most of what I'm talking about has already been said. So if there's repetition here, please don't mind. Recently re-elected President Danny Shamovitz, former President Rivka Karmi, distinguished guests, family, and friends. As the saying goes, for everything there is a purpose and a time and a place for everything under heaven. In 1953, when Ben-Gurion arrived in Sde Boker, he was told that the Negev was uninhabitable and that nothing would grow there. Now, a mere 74 years later, look at this place, green and growing and leading the world in sustainability, water management, high-tech, agriculture, and cyber. When the ground was broken in 2018, I mentioned that I had done 3 things right in my life. I married my wife, Cyndi. We have been blessed with 4 amazing children who have blessed us with 6 grandchildren, and we've had the good fortune to have been able to make this project possible. It takes a village to raise a child, and this child was no different. Mark, thank you for pursuing Cyndi and I, or pursuing me for 3 years, into looking into BGU. Patience does pay off. D. I first met you in 2016 in a small shelter of the old building where copies were kept. As you read a passage from Ben-Gurion's notebook, tears actually started to roll down my face, and it seemed like I had been transformed into a different world. I became completely unaware of where I was. A year later, when Cyndi was able to come down to see the archives, she too felt exactly the same way. Something spoke to both of us, and we knew right there and then that we'd been offered an opportunity. Adi, you helped guide us to where we wanted to go, and we are eternally grateful for that. Rivka, thank you for believing in this project and us. We know that this has always been a dream of yours. Not only did we enjoy working with you, we also cherish our special relationship together. Though you retired as president of the university, you never retired from the dream. Thank you so very much for all your support over the years. If not for the amazing steering committee made up of the following 9 individuals: Adi Portughies, Adi Schertzer, Avi Borelli, Itan Doyet, Gilly Gopher, Michal Moyel Baskin, Paula Caballo, Shmuel Adler, and Cyndi Mintzberg, this project would still be a work in process. Not only did you all work tirelessly on this project, you still worked at your regular full-time jobs. If not for all of you, we would not be here today, ready to open this beautiful building. Cyndi and I would also like to acknowledge and thank the 3 curators of the exhibition hall, the archives, and the Institute: Adi Portughies, Adi Schertzer, and Paula Caballo, who's now in California, unfortunately unable to be here. Gathering all the documentation for the museum seemed like an impossible task at the beginning. However, the 3 of you have certainly earned your PhDs. To our amazing architects, Yael, Yaron, and Gilad. No disrespect, ladies first. We knew right from your presentation that you would be the chosen ones. It was Beshert. The love and the energy the 3 of you have all put into this project was way beyond amazing. I would say you were all flying at Mach 1, coming down from Haifa and Tel Aviv on a weekly, semi-weekly, and even sleeping in the building to oversee the project. Thank you so very much from the bottom of our hearts. Where's Udi? Oh, to the unbelievable Udi and his construction team. How you were able to complete this project on time, on budget, and during a pandemic is a sign that the impossible is still possible. We will be forever grateful to you and your team. Toda. This building is one of learning and education. It does not distinguish between rich or poor, laborer or CEO, Orthodox or atheist, Jew or Arab, Bedouin or Christian, left or right. It is a building for all, searching to find reason, truth, to teach, to question, and to learn. It is a building that will be able to constantly evolve and enable future generations to understand, learn, and prosper as we all continue to try and make the Negev flourish. The dream comes alive with only the walking path left to complete, connecting these 3 important sites: the kibbutz home, the grave site, and the archives. Thank you, Bernie and Jeff, for making this a reality. Carving out a path in the desert was no easy task. Bridging these three treasures together is like the icing on the cake. To my mentors, Stanley Plotnick, late Steve Schneiderman, late Aggie Pappas, Vicky Cooper, Mike Horty, and my late father, Jack Mintzberg. Your teaching, encouragement, and guidance has been an inspiration to me, and without all of your wisdom, we would definitely not have been in this position to undertake such a project. Though you might not know this, you were all definitely my education, as you all found out yesterday, and paramount in my growth. I'll digress a wee bit and hopefully not embarrass my wife. My amazing wife is actually what I wrote. It was in July of 1974 when Cyndi was in Israel for the first time, and I came to visit her. My proposal did not come out well. It did not work out well at all. Luckily for me, she accepted 3 years later, and next month we celebrate our 45th wedding anniversary. So yes, indeed, there is a time and a place for everything under heaven. Cyndi, you've worked tirelessly on this project, replying to hundreds of emails and proofreading countless pages of translations. I can't count the number of books that you read about Ben-Gurion and the dozens of early morning Zoom calls that you had with the steering committee. You articulated simplicity to ensure that this place of learning speaks clearly about who Ben-Gurion was, and the results speak for themselves. Cyndi has also designed and made 2 special mezuzahs, one for the entry and one for the museum. I'll ask Hani to come up.
Cyndi and Max, this is a true honor to share with everyone the inspiration behind Cyndi's designs of these exquisite mezuzot. I'll read the artist's description. The learning process, new gold, argentium silver. This mezuzah installation is located at the front entrance of the building. The movement in this mezuzah replicates the learning process. The base at the bottom has little detail, but is open to acquiring knowledge. The twists, turns, and increased detail are indicative of expanded learning, with the outermost shape that points outwards towards the future. I'll continue with the second mezuzah, the snail, argentium silver, ammonite. This mezuzah installation is located at the entrance to the exhibition hall. This snail shape takes a prominent place in this mezuzah. Visually, it relates to the sculptural structure in the exhibition hall that surrounds the film viewing area. A snail has a protective shell. Through protecting our history, as is done in this exhibition hall that highlights the archives of David Ben-Gurion, we nurture our present and guard our future. And we have one more last-minute mezuzah addition. Cyndi and Max, your children are so proud of you and wish they could be here in the Negev to celebrate this momentous and historical achievement. Instead, they let us know that they hope this third mezuzah serves as a reminder to you of the love and respect they have for you as their parents. Cyndi, can you please come up and say a few words?
I am full of emotion today and feeling very maternal. After a long gestational period, the anxiety of letting go of our baby, a baby made of bricks and mortar, and much thought and soul searching, a building that embodies the vital source as well as the life of David Ben-Gurion and all those who wandered in and out of his orbit. My husband Max and I are honored to unveil this building that we took through its growing pains as it began to take form and adapt to its various purposes. It was a process that challenged us, stimulated many conversations, and even passionate discussions. We pass this offering to the future visionaries who will learn and benefit from those who went before them. As David Ben-Gurion, our modern-day prophet, said, "It isn't enough to be up to date. You have to be up to tomorrow." We give the building to its future to take on a life of its own. We are all certain you will contribute to the building's purpose by your explorations here. I imagine Ben-Gurion looking down at us with a glint in his eye and a smile on his face, and perhaps even standing on his head saying, "I told you so. Amarti lecha." The impossible is possible. The Negev is no longer a frontier, but an oasis of plenty and a future for all. And with the utmost respect and sense of honor to David Ben-Gurion, our university's namesake, we will now cut the ribbon.
Will the following people
join us
in the cutting? Does everybody know who they are?
No, I'm going to say.
Oh.
Okay. Danny Shamovitz, Rivka Karmi, Jeff Kay, Mark Mendelson, Adi Portughies, Udi Ullerman, Yael Yaron and Gilad Granot, Avi Borelli, Eitan Donetz, Shmuel Adler, Gili Gofer, Michal Moyal, Ramon Sivav, and the last one is Hani Silverman.
What's it?
What happened?
I need to say something?
Oh, go ahead.
It's a surprise. Don't go, don't go. Before we move forward, I would like again to invite the president of the university, Professor Dani Khimovic, to present the Mintzberg with a gift.
The building does not leave you.
The building's coming home with us.
So when you're not with us, but we will build you an apartment here if you would like.
Hey,
Let's take a look.
sold.
Wait a second, turn around the other way.
I'm sorry.